Amateur Radio News and Notes for Friday, July 24th, 2026. I'm Ed Kabik, November 2, Echo Charlie. In the log this week, we've got a contest spotlight for the RSGB IOTA contest. Also, Xiegu teases the new G7250 100-watt HF radio. Also, the 2026 CQ Worldwide WPX single sideband contest results have been released. We'll also talk about some MVARC Nets on the air, see what's happening with DX, get a solar activity update, talk about some upcoming contests, and take a look at interesting online video content. As always, links to all the reference content can be found in the show notes or at our Substack at mvarc.substack.com. This weekend brings the 2026 edition of the Radio Society of Great Britain's Islands on the Air contest. The stated objective of the RSGB IOTA contest is, quote, to promote contacts between stations in IOTA island groups and the rest of the world, and to encourage expeditions to IOTA islands. The contest starts on Saturday, July 25th, 2026 at 1200 UTC, that's 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and ends on Sunday, July 26, 2026 at 1200 UTC, again at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Bands of operation include the 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10-meter bands on CW and or sideband. The contest is open to all stations worldwide. Those operating from the qualifying islands are island stations, and all others are world stations. Operation must be from a single location where all equipment is within a 500-meter circle. Remote receivers are not permitted. World stations may be remote if the operator is within 100 kilometers or less of the transmitting location and within the same DXCC entity. Remote operation of island stations requires the same restrictions, plus the operator must be on the same island or IOTA group. Assisted entries are allowed to self-spot no more frequently than every 10 minutes. Categories of operation include single operator unassisted and assisted, with the newcomer overlay being for those licensed in the last 3 years, Island Multi-1 and Island Multi-2. There are no world multi-op stations permitted. Multi-operator stations must be 24 hours operating category, while others may also enter the 12 hours operating category, provided off times are at least 60 minutes at a time. Power levels are high power, that's 1500 watts or less, low power, 100 watts or less, and QRP, that's 5 watts or less. The exchange is RST and serial number for world stations, so for my 40-second contact on CW, it would be 59942. For island stations, the exchange is RST and serial number plus IOTA reference. So for an Isle of Man station operating on single sideband, on their 321st contact, the exchange would be 599321 EU 116. Stations can be worked on both modes on each band, and island stations should announce their references when calling CQ. Points for island stations are 5 points for contacting world stations, 5 points for island stations on the same reference, and 15 points for other island stations at another reference. For world stations contacting world stations, they get 2 points, and contacting island stations gets 15 points. Multipliers are the total number of different IOTA references contacted on each band on CW, plus those contacted on each band on single sideband. Total score is QSO points on all bands added together, multiplied by the sum of multipliers on all bands added together. Logs must be submitted online within 5 days of the contest in Cabrillo format. For full rules and information, visit a link in the show notes. Good luck. This week, Radioddity, distributor of Xiegu products in the United States, announced a new 100-watt radio, the Xiegu G7250. A price and full details have yet to be released. However, they did give us some information about what to expect. The radio has 100 watts of output on HF, that's 160 to 10 meters, and 90 watts of output on VHF, that's 6 meters. A split design with a base radio connected to a remote head via Ethernet, a software-defined radio architecture, a 7-inch touch display, network baseband streaming, a 3-to-1 internal automatic antenna tuner, and a voice recorder with CW messaging. The design is reminiscent of Flex radios with their Maestro front ends. The site also claims that the unit will be controllable via SDR software over network using software like HDSDR, but does not go into any further detail. Since this is what Radioddity is terming a sneak peek, The features and specifications are subject to change. As you can imagine, the internet has been abuzz with speculation about what the price will be and what to expect. We'll keep you posted when more information is released. Radiodity's sneak peek page can be found at a link in the show notes. The results are in for the 2026 CQWPX SSB contest held March 28th to 29th this year, and CQWPX director Bud AA3B published a thorough analysis of this year's contest. It was the 70th CQWPX SSB, and there were 8,344 logs from 10,082 participants this year, which was close to last year's record participation. The only continent with lower participation was North America. QSOs on the bands below 10 meters were up from last year, while total QSOs were slightly down, reflecting the decline of Cycle 25. All told, 2,581,807 contacts were logged, with an average of 309 QSOs per log and 256 QSOs per operator. The winner for single operator high power this year was CQ9A, operated by EW6W, with a total score of 24,457,715. For multi-single, it was IO6T, with a score of 20,535,650. For multi-2, it was CR3A, with 64,239,956 points. For multi-multi, it was CN3A with 101,523,396 points. For multi-distributed, it was PT1M with 29,333,865 points. And the winning youth entry was NT6Q, operated by K6JO, with 9,661,475 points. The full 38-page write-up with analysis, photos, and scores can be found at a link in the show notes. Congratulations to all the participants. And now let's take a look at some MVARC Nets on the air. We have our 2-meter FM net on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on the repeater. That is immediately followed by the 2-meter digital net on Xiegu System Fusion C4 FM on the same frequency. On the weekends, we have the MVARC Slow Speed CW Roundtable Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 a.m. on 3.565 megahertz CW, and that is followed by the MVARC Cherry Tree Net on Saturday and Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on 3.920 megahertz lower sideband, where we always have a great conversation, and you're always welcome to join us. Now let's take a look at what is happening with DX. There will be a lot of DX on the air this week. Stations on the air include Crete, Benin, Rodriguez Island, South Cook Island, Azerbaijan, St. Martin, Trinidad and Tobago, and Tuvalu. A calendar of DX expeditions can be found at NG3K's announced DX operations list at ng3k.com. And now it's time for a solar activity update. As we go to press, the Solar Flux Index, or SFI, was 150, and the estimated sunspot number was 63, with 5 numbered sunspot regions visible from Earth. Over the last week, the SFI has increased. Solar activity has been at low levels in the last 24 hours. The geomagnetic field has been at low levels in the last 24 hours, and the KP index reached 5 yesterday. The solar wind averaged 749 kilometers a second. Solar activity is predicted to be at moderate levels, with a slight chance of X-class flares today, and at low levels with a chance of M-class flares Saturday and Sunday. The geomagnetic field is forecast to be at quiet to minor storm levels today, quiet to unsettled levels Saturday, and at quiet levels Sunday. The chance of solar radiation storms at the S1 or greater level is at 5% today through Sunday. R1 to R2 radio blackouts are likely, with a predicted probability of 55% today and 45% on Saturday and Sunday. R3 or greater blackouts are unlikely, with a 10% chance predicted today and a 5% chance predicted Saturday and Sunday. It remains a fantastic time for amateurs to get on the air and work the world. Good sources of real-time solar information include spaceweatherlive.com and solarham.com. A good overview of conditions can be found at dx.qsl.net/propagation. To see D-layer absorption data and associated radio blackouts, visit the NOAA DRAP page, and to see real-time maximusable frequency, or MUF, and critical frequency, or FOF2 information from RadioSonde data, visit prop.kc2g.com. Now let's take a look at some upcoming contests. This weekend brings the RSGB Islands on the Air contest we spotlighted earlier. Also on the air this weekend will be the Alabama QSO Party and the ARS Flight of the Bumblebees. As always, the K1USN SSTs, the MSTs, and the CWTs will also be on the air. The full contest calendar with events and exchanges can be found at contestcalendar.com. And now let's wrap things up with some interesting online radio content. As always, everything we're about to mention is in the show notes and also at our Substack at mvarc.substack.com. ESA Space Weather has an article on how to read solar data and predict HF radio propagation. Also, DX Radar discusses their picks for the best shortwave radio propagation forecast tools. Walt K4OGO does some de-exploring on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. IMSci Guy takes a look at a curious 6-resistor tetrahedral power splitter. Josh KI6NAZ speculates on the Xiegu G7250. Mike KMRD builds the KM4CFT mini mic kit. Hayden VK7HH goes over what he learned in its first 75 hours of 3D printing. Mike K&MRD tests an inverter for RF noise with disappointing results. Manuel WP4TZ takes us along for Soda by Bicycle in Puerto Rico. Michael KB9VBR tests out the Spool 10 Ultra. George VK2AOE finishes his series on his homebrew active loop antenna. Jason KM4ACK shows his amateur radio RV setup. Jim WT1W shows how to run your own local AI models in the shack for free. And Tim K5OHY builds a 40-meter loop antenna. Well, that is it for this week. I've been Ed, November 2, Echo Charlie. Thanks, as always, for joining us. We hope you have a great week ahead. Best 73, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.